And welcome everybody. Welcome to the Friday, the 20th of August. Oh my God, we're almost into the second half, well into the second half of the year. My name is Colin Mars, aka The Numbers Guy, and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Series. And today's guest I have with me is Henry Kimbell from Galloping to Give. So welcome, Henry. I'm going to go through my little splurge beforehand, but we're also promoting a new little intro video. Very excited about this. So just enjoy my video while I get myself set. Okay, and we're back. So as I say, welcome to a Miles Better Conversation, the Entrepreneurial Series. My name is Colin Miles, aka The Numbers Guy. Each interview is going to last around about 30 minutes and will allow us to gain some insights and tips from our guest, which, as I've said today, is Henry Kimbell from Galloping to Give. In this series, I'm looking to interview a variety of business owners from around the world and gain some insights on what drives them and how they can help you meet my philosophy, which is to grow, scale, and profit faster by tapping into their experience and their insights. So before we get started, though, it's always fair to give my guest the opportunity to talk, because as most of you know, I love the chat. So Henry, welcome again. Thank you for sitting patiently through my intro. So tell us a little bit about Henry and what Henry Kimbell is and who Galloping to Give is all about.
Henry Kimbell is mid-30s, married with 2 children. I live in Suffolk. Interests outside of work range from cooking, photography, and most sports. And linking into Galloping to Give, horse racing has been a long-standing passion and enjoyment of mine since childhood. And I felt there was an opportunity last year to put a long-burning ambition to run my own business and do something in racing that paid. So I set Galloping to Give up, and we're on a merry way, and it's very exciting.
Cool. Well, I'm sure as we go through, we'll explore more about how you got started, because that's one of my questions. But just for the listeners and viewers, what is Galloping to Give? It's I obviously know the background. We work together, but how did Galloping to Give come about, and what's its essence?
Well, its essence is very simple. There's so much opportunity out there, which I didn't feel was realized to really shine the light on racing as a sport for businesses and charities. I've got quite a lot of background in charity fundraising, but for business and charities who wouldn't otherwise think of using it for business development, client retention, and staff getting together. A lot of people don't know that it's the second most watched sport in the UK behind football.
Wow.
It contributes about £3 billion annually to the UK economy. So there's lots there, and I have quite a lot of connections and links and knowledge within the sport that I felt harnessed together in one place for the benefit of businesses and charities could really take them further. And so that's what I'm excited to do. And Galloping, in terms of the name, because I think that's important, Galloping means that we're fast paced, but we're permanently moving forwards. And Give has a multitude of reasons behind the name, but Give both in terms of knowledge and also charities and businesses having the opportunity to give their time to one another for mutual benefit. And in time, I will also make sure there's a philanthropic element to my business.
Cool. Yes. I mean, first person though, as they say, charity starts at home, and it's a business, isn't it? So
yeah.
From that perspective, so exciting. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for that. We'll explore a little more as we go through as to how that is evolved for you and how the listeners and viewers can perhaps get involved. But we're going to leap into the Miles Better Conversation 10, as I'd like to refer to it. And question number 1 is, what's the biggest challenge you have right now, Henry, and how are you going to overcome it?
I would say getting your name out there enough to people who feel they can trust you and believe that you'll give them a good service. Raising profile and trust, which ultimately equates to clients and new clients. Obviously, it's much harder over the majority of the past year with the pandemic. Face-to-face interaction, as we say many times to each other, is so golden. And despite the beauties of technology and podcasts and things like this, and Teams and Zoom, nothing can replace the face-to-face interaction. And particularly a sport like racing really requires that visual learning and experiential, being in the moment, being there in front of the horses on the gallops. And I can only do that so much without people being there. So that's definitely the challenge at the moment.
Okay. And what is your approach? So obviously, have you obviously with COVID, that's obviously added another element to it. But perhaps what are some of the steps you're taking to overcome that challenge of awareness?
Well, I'm slightly contradicting what I've just said, but I mean, I am being as visible as I can be on digital, which does help. You've got to be continuous and repetitive in reminding your following audience and new audience about what you offer, and not being concerned about maybe offering some discounts to try and get new clients, and really never saying no to anything, because you just don't know where some new business might pop up. So I've been working alongside a couple of partners who have got some good contacts in the business world. They know me very well, and they're basically doing me a favor promoting my business to their networks, and that hopefully is yielding a couple of new clients in London, which would be great. So you've got to use your networks to push out so that you have people working on behalf of you, because at the end of the day, I'm a one-man band. I can only do so much in any one day. So maximizing the digital opportunity and using your networks to promote your business and your wares.
No, it's all about vision. It's all about visibility, and one of the reasons that both of us are doing this, if I'm honest, as listeners will know, I'm doing it twofold. One, to obviously help as many entrepreneurs grow, scale, and profit faster through business tips and coaching and learning. But it's also about helping you raise your awareness by introducing you to some of our clients, and vice versa, that people may come across. So no, you're right. And in the current world, it is all about putting yourself out there. I mean, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, those big brands, they've done it for years. It often occurred to me, as a youngster, why do they advertise? I know Coca-Cola, but it's because it's always there when you go to the shelf, the row of shelves, isn't it? And there's Coke, there's Pepsi, there's Sprite there, and they're all owned by the same people. But it's you're just subliminally drawn. That's what I want. So cool. Good. So thank you. So question number 2 is, how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of your game within your role and your industry? Because this is a new role for you as an entrepreneur, isn't it? So what's some of your tips maybe to keep current and stuff?
Well, it's a good question. I probably don't practice what I preach, but I think setting enough time aside in your calendar every week, every month to have a break from the general humdrum of work, to actually read that article that you found on LinkedIn, or listen to that podcast that you've saved on your phone but haven't listened to yet, or do some planning around challenges that you're facing, or dip into groups that you might be part of, and that kind of thing. And I think you can never stop learning. Have a mentor if you can, and surround yourself with a good support bubble of networks and people that can help you. Because like with anything, you do doubt yourself when you're making a decision. No matter how strong-willed you are, we all doubt ourselves. 9 times out of 10, it's the right decision, but you just need someone to tell you that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's that head and heart situation. And also, as I often refer to, being an entrepreneur is hello, somebody else wants to join the conversation.
Sorry, yes.
If it's a client, feel free to say, I'm on a podcast, I'll be back. No, but being an entrepreneur, I think is a very lonely, can be a very lonely situation, because, as you said, you're a one-man band. When we all worked in corporate for a while many years ago, certainly for myself, you had somebody else you could bounce ideas off. So I think the fact that you mentioned about having a mentor, or listening to being in a group, having something where you can interact is a good point. And, it's one of the themes that does come through actually through the podcast that we've had and this series, that, you can't do it all on your own. Although as entrepreneurs, we always want to do it on our own, because that's where we think we can save money. I am terrible at that. And it's only, even today I reached out to somebody on Fiverr, and I'm like, do I really want to spend this money? And I'm like, well, yes, because actually I can't do that. And I'll spend hours, and for £20, it's going to be done and it's dusted. So I think, it's
and just to add, actually, I mean, you know, I think surrounding yourself by more than one mentor is very important, and the advice you've given me in the past and now and into the future has been very, very helpful and much appreciated. But what I've also been very conscious of, I suppose it depends on your relationship with your time in education. I mean, I was not an Oxbridge scholar, but I did enjoy my time both at school and university, and so much so that I've more so at the university than school, but I spent time doing a career mentors program at university, helping undergraduates who wanted to go into a similar line of work. This is before I'd set up Galloping to give, but you know, when you leave university or you're an undergraduate, unless you know that you want to be a doctor or an analyst or a lawyer or a handful of top level jobs, a lot of people don't have a clue. And actually just someone who's got a rapport with that person who might not be that much older, and you've got the common ground as the same university or whatever it is so helpful. And I keep thinking, well, if I was in that position, would I want their help? Yes. So, you know, I'm not doing it at the moment, but I have done it for 3 or 4 years in the past, and I will get back into it because it's something that's very, very heartwarming and I think helpful to give back to. You need to remember where you come from.
No, paying the old thing, paying it forward or paying it backwards. Probably paying it forward is the better phrase. So yeah, cool, good. Okay, so obviously as a new entrepreneur, one of the reasons that you and I working together as the numbers guy is that numbers are important and can be quite scary. And I know in your world, life's been a little scarier than most through personal health as well. But what's your biggest fear around your numbers?
I would say not valuing myself, my time, my service enough, and putting a figure on that reflects that. Funnily enough, I've been doing some calculations today for a friend of mine who I persuaded to take a package, which will be a morning at a trainer's yard and then a day at the races in Newmarket. And just sort of stripping it all back, you've got to work out what the costs are for you, for whatever you're taking. And then what I've realized as well is that actually some race meetings vary, even if they're the same course, because one day is more prestigious than the other. So actually having a set fee sometimes isn't the best thing. You've just got to try and tailor it accordingly, but then working out what your time and your worth is without it being prohibitive is sometimes quite difficult. And actually more often than not, the individual or the company will, oh, for goodness sake, sorry.
That's right.
More often than not, the individual, hang on a second. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all good. It's fun. It's our podcast. It's
I know
it's all fun. You know, somebody wants you.
Well, they don't.
Oh, look, there we go. I've got one as well now. I've got a timer.
One as well.
I've got a timer going.
I'm really sorry. Hang on. Right. Sorry. My apologies. Yeah, knowing your worth, and but more often than not, even if you know your worth and you doubt it yourself, the individuals and the companies will, I imagine, I feel confident that they'd still pay it. So you shouldn't worry too much. But it's getting that range right of not charging too little that you're undervaluing yourself, but obviously not making it so prohibitive that no one would pay it, not even Richard Branson.
No, exactly. But and I think I was talking actually with a client only this week actually about how she puts together some of her projects and stuff, and she actually keeps a log, a diary almost, of how much time she's spending on creating a package, how much time she's spending, you know, so for calendar management, not necessarily to say, well, actually I ended up spending 10 hours and I want to charge £100 an hour, so that's really another £1,000. It becomes prohibitive. But I think, you know, it's as a small entrepreneur, when it comes to pricing, which is one of the biggest challenges, is about just keep a diary of, you know, prospecting. How much time did I prospect? How much time did I do on the pre-work? How much? Because, and you and I have talked about that when you're, you know, when you're putting together the package, it's not just the day. And if you're doing I think one of the packages
Yes.
you and I were talking on was the arranging of the pre-event. That needs to be and stuff. So I think it's being armed with the numbers help you understand your pricing and also understand whether it becomes prohibitive. So it's good. Yeah, exactly. So cool. Good. Well, thank you for that. So no major fears, but just getting it right and getting the value right, which is all important, and not undervaluing, etc. I mean, and then there was the old classic, you don't go in and haggle in BMW, do you? So, they've created the value that you want their car.
Yes.
Pay the price type thing.
Yes.
So cool. What about compliments? What's the best compliment you've ever received in your business? Now, your business is very new, so we may have to go back for your personality, because as I say, literally only still in your first year, so it's exciting.
Well, I mean, I received some very recently, early this week, as a side thing in a sort of voluntary capacity. I run some racing syndicates where owners come together and buy a share in a horse and go to the races, watch it run, go to the yard, watch it train, etc. I sort of coordinated all, had some wonderful comments from some of the guys in the syndicate. We've got a WhatsApp group going, and some wonderful comments from the guys in the syndicate saying, you organize it very well. We've had some success. It's great to be part of a fun social group, and words to that effect. And they're not long compliments in terms of reams of words, but I mean, it's lovely that people take the time out to acknowledge the time and effort that you're putting in. Because nothing happens without time and effort, whether it's a dinner party or a wedding. And the same, obviously, with the work I'm doing there. I enjoy doing it, and it's something that I've worked on for a couple of years, and it's good fun. And so it's lovely when people do give you those compliments. But yeah, you're right. From a business perspective and Galloping to Give, we're not quite there yet. Interview me in a year's time, and I'll have many to choose from, I'm sure, in a very modest way.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think the one of the reasons I put that question in is actually just to tease out as a coaching tip to people on the call, but also listening in and stuff, that we are in a world of social proof. Social proofing is key. People tend to buy. I learned many years ago by a great marketeer that people don't buy what you sell; they buy what you stand for. All right. And I think that can be expanded in today's world with the social proofing, that, it is about you and I. You came to me through a recommendation. All right. So that's some social proofing. So I think my tip always to entrepreneurs is capture that social proofing, capture those compliments, capture those phrases, and consolidate them and have them in your arsenal. Because when you come to somebody who says, "Oh, I don't really know who you are, Henry, and Galloping to Give. Have you got, what are you about?" You go, well, I've got some reviews. I've got some compliments. I've got some testimonials. Now people think, "Oh, but that's me. You're just showing off." I'm like, no, because they came naturally. And then if people take them in with and put weight on it as they do. So I think that's important, that compliments are good and bad, and we should they're an asset to you as your business when you move forward. Is really what I would come and make from that. So cool, good. Well, nice that you're getting some recognition already, and just keep going, as you say. Right, so we said several times you're a new business owner. What was the leap? What was the rationale? What was the driving force to become an entrepreneur? Because it's scary, isn't it?
It is. Well, I hate to probably be fairly, well, I don't know what all of your previous podcasters have said, but I mean, coronavirus was probably it, to be honest, both in terms of the pandemic and also, sadly, me contracting it. I mean, I won't bore your listeners too much with my health excitements, but I had been working in the charity sector for nearly a decade and was going into my fourth year with a charity that helped people with spinal injuries. And they were doing some restructuring. And this was basically at the time, just pre-COVID hitting last March. And then I became really unwell and was in hospital for a period of time as a result of coronavirus. And funnily enough, with the restructuring they were doing, my role was at risk, and I didn't really want to go back there because of various personal reasons. We were moving house, etc., etc. And then, obviously, with the crazy time of being in hospital, you of course reassess things. And I sort of thought to myself, well, the job market isn't exactly brimming with offers if I go looking again, and I knew I'd probably get sucked into another charity role that I didn't probably want. I was just doing it to find a job. So I said to myself, well, look, now's as good a time as any. Yes, it's challenging, but I graduated at the height of the recession in 2009, and I did okay for the next 10 years. So, why is this any worse? So really, it was a combination of role at being, restructuring at my previous employer and coronavirus, really.
Okay, no, it's all good. Everybody has slightly different reasons and stuff. So usually it's a dramatic, pivotal change that they've seized the moment as such. And I think, COVID has done that for a lot of people and stuff too. So, and good on you, because, to launch a business inside a pandemic, in a sector that requires outside interaction, it was always going to be a challenge for you and stuff. So
I mean, the ironic thing about horse racing was it was probably the longest running sport throughout, or rather the sport that had the least disruption as a result of COVID, because it started up again at the beginning of June last year. Yet for the majority of that time, hardly anyone could go. And someone who sells racecourse experience packages, it was a bit limiting.
Yes, indeed. So let's hope that it continues to open up as it is. So cool. Earlier in the conversation, we talked about mentoring, and actually you must have pre-read my mind one of the questions. So because I believe life is a journey, and so you should take that journey with a friend, a companion, a mentor, etc. And you somewhat answered this question, but really just to pivot all the way back to it again. The benefits of a mentor, do you actually have any specific mentors that you've worked with that not necessarily a name shout out, but just what they've brought to the party, or what you think to help other entrepreneurs, the benefits of a mentor, that type of thing? We've someone answered this.
Yeah, I mean, I up until quite recently, I hadn't really been exposed to mentoring, even though ironically I'd obviously done some as a mentor through university, but I hadn't flipped it on its head and gone, well, looking up, as it were, as a mentee. I was always thinking, well, you've got to be looking down and helping people younger than you. Oh, for goodness sake. Sorry. Oh, where's he?
Somebody wants you. Is it important?
No, it's not at all. Sorry. 1 second, and let me just.
No problem.
Apologies.
Stop messaging me. And as you can hear, we've had a bit of a break. We've had a pause. Henry's having some issues with his tech. He keeps getting messages. He's gone to fix it. The joys of being live in the world of technology and notifications. He's back. I'm sure he slapped somebody if it's them who keeps ringing, but it's all good fun. As I said, joys of being my podcast, our video cast. It's all good, Henry. No problems at all. So,
thank you all for your patience. My sincere apologies. Yes, right. There was some blue word.
I always remember the classic on the television a few years ago, before pandemic, and when Zoom hadn't really quite taken center stage. Did you ever see the BBC News where they were interviewing a guy in Hong Kong, and and the little child comes in, and the mum tries to meet? That was, and because
all the time when they interviewed the wrong person. I can't remember what it was about, but about I don't know, stock markets in South Africa or something, and he had absolutely no idea. But sort of, bluffed his way, and you could just see him creasing with laughter as the interview went on. Much to the amusement of the interviewers. Sorry, my apologies.
So mentoring was the question. You've never really thought about having a mentor up, but
No, I hadn't. the chief executive of the spinal injuries charity I spoke to, that I used to work for, he came in, I think at the beginning of 2018. Is that right? No, sorry, what am I talking about? Beginning of 2019, yes. And we had about 15 months together before I moved on. And he was very much about empowering, learning from others, development, all that kind of stuff. He'd worked for a big international charity, I suppose, out in Africa. And they were very much about empowering communities. And they had a lot of young senior managers and leaders and all that kind of stuff. So that clearly rubbed off on him, and he brought it to the charity that I was at. Anyway, so that really shed a huge light on for me as to the value of it. And I used him as a sort of unofficial mentor, I suppose. I tried to pick his brains as much as I could, and I think that's mostly, in its very crudest term, what a mentor-mentee relationship is from the mentee's side. I think there's so much experience and know-how and just the beauty of life experience, really, that individual can share, and you've got to have a good rapport. I think that's really important. You can't, it's like a counselor, I suppose. You can't just assume because they're a counselor they're going to get on with you and be helpful, despite everyone thinking all counselors should be like that. So I would wholeheartedly encourage it to your listeners. It's quite it's both easy and difficult to find mentors. I mean, you could just look in your workplace, but then it's finding someone who's not so removed from you that you've never heard of them, but equally, so coming on some kind of recommendation, but equally has that impartiality, so that they can sort of be stern with you at times, or so that it's not your father or your mother, if you sort of mean.
No, exactly.
It needs to be a bit more grown up and professional than that.
And I think also, one of the tips I would suggest or to talk through with others is that, there are the mentors for just almost for different projects, really. I've gone through, the last 12 months, I've moved more into the digital world and this sort of thing. And I've worked with 2 or 3 mentors who've helped me get this platform up, get me to where I am, understand the thing. And we're sort of waning using them on a regular basis, because I worked with them for a year, because they've somewhat imparted, they're still there, but we had a big thing, and now we can move on to something else. And I think some mentors will stay with you for your whole life. Others can be just for a project. So I think it's that journey again and stuff. So, definitely. Good. So we obviously the next question is about researching. What's new? What are you researching at the moment? And obviously everything's new for you, Henry, in your business. But is there something that you're excited about? I mean, I know actually I'm going to bring it back up. What are you planning to do in 2022? What was our conversation before we went live? There you go. We had our whole conversation beforehand, so I'll leave that one for you. That's more of a, it might blur into a bit of professional stuff, but I mean, it's more personal. I've been a long-standing patient of the dear old NHS, and I've had various things in my life. I won't bore your listeners with all of it, but I've had a kidney transplant. So I've got a woman's kidney in me. I'm not in high heels or lipstick just yet, but and that and a few other things along the way has taught me a lot. Having probably had to deal with it from the age of 8, 10. You obviously go through your teenage, adolescent stages, and you learn a lot about yourself. And so what I'd love to do, and very topical given that we're on a podcast series, I feel there's so much out there that patients can do to better understand their condition. These are long-term conditions, which I have. My kidney problems won't go away. They are temporarily fixed by a transplant. Transplant lasts between 10 to 15 years. I'm about to hit year 11. But then there will come a point where it will peter out and I'll go back on dialysis. And I think for people with long-term conditions, heart, lung, liver, diabetes, whatever it may be, there's so much that they can do, both psychologically,
physically, emotionally, to put themselves in the best place to bounce back from that diagnosis and make the most of their life with that. And there's lots of help out there. And I think sometimes knowing where to find it is actually quite difficult in a way that suits you. You know, there's loads of Facebook groups, but I mean, I'm on some for kidneys, and the amount of questions that come through, and then someone comments and there's about 100 comments. It's like, well, 50 people have said different things.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is a series of a podcast with different speakers from the medical profession, from psychological, from maybe sports, and obviously patients themselves, and really putting together some helpful hints for people to take ownership of their condition so they can live the best life with that, in a nutshell.
Cool. Good. Well, that sounds exciting. And I think, we'll look forward to seeing the announcements for that and seeing you moving it forward. So cool.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. It's something I feel impassioned to do, and I just need to get my ducks in a row and sort it out. But,
no, exactly.
the pandemic as well. You know, people have the health has come much more to people's forefront of their conscience than maybe it ever was before.
No, exactly. Exactly. Cool. Next one's a bit of a time travel question. Not the hot tub time traveler or the time machine, but if you were to go back and you could speak to your 21-year-old self, which I know in your case, it's only a few years ago, we wish, what would you say? Or what might be your advice? What might, I mean, forgetting the parable and the time flux that you can't meet yourself and all the other bits, but, what might you say?
I would have said, I would have said, do some more traveling, work abroad, do a bit more international stuff. I think I was, I don't know why, but I was very keen. I think because I'd had 2 years between school and university as a result of my kidney problems, actually. And so I was effectively a year behind myself. And I was very keen just to get through, finish university, and then get into work, move to London, get into work. So that's what a lot of my friends are doing. And my peer group from school were obviously a year ahead of me. And I think that clouded my judgment a bit looking back. So yeah, it would have been, going to, I'd love to have improved my French and gone to France or a French speaking country and spent time out there. And I think there was quite a chunk of time from 23 to 28. I mean, I was 27 when I got married, but even so, I think there was a good few years after graduation where I could have gone and it wouldn't have really affected my life too much. And whereas now I look back and go, and I've now got children, and there's no chance doing it, but there's no chance doing it in that way again. Right.
Yeah, no, I understand and stuff. So because again, it's all about life's a journey, isn't it? And sometimes we're so quick to try and get to the next phase of the journey.
Yeah, and you don't need to be.
You don't need to be. So, no, good advice. And I think that's probably also one of the things I think that's come out of the pandemic. So many people, you yourself, reassessed your life and took the opportunity. And I think the pandemic has done the same. Lots of people reassessing. It's possibly one of the excuses that's going to come out as to why there's nobody going back to work, because they're all deciding to reassess their lives. But I think that's a whole nother political hot potato. We won't go there. So cool. So last couple of questions. What would be your top business tip? Has anybody given you something that you went, I like that, or something that you've come across that you might be to share with others? You've talked a little bit about obviously networking, putting yourself out there, but do you have one sort of top tip? You've frozen on me. I think you've frozen. You've gone. I'm not sure whether Galloping to Give is still with us, whether we are still live. He has frozen. Certainly on my end, he's frozen. So that may be the natural end to our interview. Let's give it a couple of seconds. He's gone. All right. So it looks like we've lost Henry. I'm not sure whether his internet has gone down, but we want to thank him anyway. So we're almost at the end there. So thanks everybody for listening, and we're gonna just wrap this up now. Obviously, normally I would thank him for. So I really want to thank obviously Henry for joining us today, sharing his tips and ideas. Sorry he sort of disappeared on us. Do check out his website at www.gallopingtogive.com. As you can see, he started his business in a pandemic. That's pretty adventurous, and all the support we can give him would be great. we'll post in the comments below. Oh, he might be coming back in. So let's just give him a chance. He is. Let's bring him a chance to bring him back on board. There he is. He's back. We were just thanking you while you weren't here for your IT challenges.
Not at all. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened. It was probably me again.
So
another digital failure.
Yeah, no worries at all. So, top business tip.
Top business tip. I would say never stop exploring, asking, and networking, because you never know who you might meet who could be that one golden ticket that you need to go to the next level.
Cool, thank you. And the last and final question is just a fun question, a little bit of in sort of character type situation. What's your favorite movie and why?
Oh, Notting Hill. Do you call that a movie? Yeah, I think you can, can't you?
Yeah, it's a movie. Notting Hill's a movie. It's got Hugh Grant in it, and and Julia Roberts.
It just I mean, it's a long time ago now. I think it was in 94, 95, but it the wonderful, British American relationship, the bumbling British man, the just gets the British sense of humor wonderfully, and Richard Curtis, who's behind it, who's a complete legend, has written so many wonderful things. I would say that I must have watched it 20 times, 25 times.
Right, wow, cool.
I'm a bit of a bore. I mean, not in a short time frame, but it still makes me laugh, even though I know what's going to happen.
Well, that's good. And that's what a good film is all about, isn't it, really, and stuff. So cool. Well, that brings us to the end of our 10 questions, Henry. So we appreciate your time, your technical joys and of fun. So I really want to thank you for taking your time to share your thoughts, ideas, and some tips on how people can enjoy being an entrepreneur and life as a whole. Your journey, obviously, of how you chose to start your business in a pandemic is both exhilarating and also scary, all in the same breath. So we take a hat off to you on that one, and we look forward to seeing the success by visitors obviously visiting Galloping to Give, perhaps showing, seeing what Henry has to offer, and looking forward to perhaps hearing about the podcast as it launches later in the year and stuff. So that's cool. So do you have anything? Are you giving anything away? Have you got anything new, Henry? That's what should they go to Galloping to Give to have a look at? Is there a package that they could think about? Do you do gift vouchers? How can they support your business from afar?
Well, gift vouchers can easily be arranged for Christmas or birthdays or weddings, what have you. I mean, we've got a range of stuff. I mean, I would draw people to Newmarket, which is the home of British racing, the headquarters of. There's about 3,000 racehorses that are trained there. I partner up with a trainer there called Tom Clover, and we have a package of a tour of his yard, delicious breakfast, go up onto the gallop, see the horses, and then a day's racing at Newmarket in the afternoon. There's some meetings and vacancies at the end of September and until October, until Halloween. So yeah, have a look and sign up. I'd be delighted to get people there. And if you mention Colin Miles Better, I'll be sure to give you a discount.
No worries. That's cool. That's great. Well, we thank you. So as I say, I wanted to thank everybody who's tuned in today and to both video and audio to listen to this episode of A Miles Better Conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts and comments, as well as sharing this Miles Better Conversation on your social media. We'd love you to check back soon for the next episode in the series. And so look out for more interviews and more notifications. If you yourself would like to be in the hot seat for the next interview, then please comment below or drop me a message. I'm on all of the platforms, so you can get at me anyway. As I mentioned right at the beginning and throughout some of the conversations, I'm making it my mission to help as many entrepreneurs grow, scale, and profit faster in this trying times. And accounting, in my opinion, and Warren Buffett, the famous entrepreneur, is the language of business. It is a shame, however, so many people can't speak it. So one of my missions is I've come up with a 42-page guide to the plain language, in plain speak, some of the languages that we use here as accountants. And I'd love you to visit lethenumbersdecide.com, which is my showcase online training program, which is a 6-week pillar on launching and growing your business. My name is Colin Miles, aka The Numbers Guy, and this has been A Miles Better Conversation. And we're going to end with, as we started, with a little bit.